Have you ever wondered what is friction and how does it affect our day-to-day life? Today, we will explore the force of friction, how is it caused, and what are the factors on which it depends. You may have noticed the sign on wet floors to be careful while walking. Can you guess why is it difficult to walk on wet floors? To move the bicycle, we apply force on the paddle. How does it move forward? When we rub our hands against each other, it feels warm. Do you know why is it so? Have you noticed striking matchstick against matchbox? It catches fire. Can you guess why does that happen? The answer is friction. The reason why is it difficult to walk on the slippery surface is because of the friction between footwear and the floor. We are able to ride bicycle on road due to friction between the tires and the road. Our hands feel warm because of the force of friction. The matchstick catches fire due to the friction between matchstick and the rough surface of matchbox. So what is this friction that we are talking about? It is quite easy to understand. Friction is the force that opposes the relative motion between two surfaces in contact. Friction between our foot and surface helps us to walk. Due to wet surface, the friction becomes low and it becomes difficult to walk. There are chances we might slip and fall. Force of friction offered by the road on the tire makes it able to move forward. If the friction is zero, the bicycle will not move at all. Friction is responsible for generating warmth in our hands. When hands come in contact and are rubbed against each other, there is some resistance due to the irregularities present on the palm of our hand. When a matchstick is rubbed against a rough surface, some amount of heat is generated, and this heat is sufficient for the reaction that ignites the matchstick. The matchstick usually fails to ignite when we rub it against wet matchbox because water lowers the force of friction. Let us learn more about friction. We will now see what are the factors that affect the force of friction. Let's do an experiment. We will roll an object on two different surfaces. One is smooth with small irregularities and other is rough with large irregularities. We will roll the object from the inclined plane. Can you guess in which case the object will go further? Let us see now. First we roll the object on the rough surface and mark the distance it travels. Now we roll it on a smoother surface and mark the distance that it covers. So what did you notice? The distance traveled by the object on rough surface is less. Can you guess why? It is due to the higher force of friction in case of rough surface. Why is it so? It is because of the large irregularities on the surface. These irregularities on two surfaces lock into one another. Whenever we need to move an object, we need to overcome these irregularities. On rough surface, the irregularities are more, and hence we need more force to overcome them. This causes a higher force of friction on rough surface. So the first factor affecting friction is the nature of surfaces in contact. Can you think of any other factor? Let us consider another experiment. We have two objects of different masses placed on the smooth surface. The surface of both objects is same. We apply same force on both the objects using rubber band. Which mass do you think will go further? First we apply force on a heavier object and observe the distance it travels. Now we apply the same force on the lighter mass. You will notice that the lighter mass travels more distance than the heavier one. So what does this tell us? It tells us that the friction also depends on the force with which the two surfaces are pressed together. If the surfaces are pressed harder, the friction will be more. Why is that? The heavier object presses the surface harder and the interlocking between the surface irregularities is more. Thus, more force is required to overcome them. This results in more friction. So what have we learned today? We have learned that the force of friction opposes the relative motion between two surfaces which are in contact. The force of friction depends on two factors. One, nature of surfaces in contact, and two, the force with which two surfaces are pressed together.